All right. So I'm going to speak about an extension that WikiTeq just released. It's called UserProtect, and it gives you straightforward per user, per write, per page protection. Let me break that down a little bit. The way the MediaWiki rights system works is it's very integrated with user groups. There's really no example, I think, across the entire MediaWiki ecosystem where you can kind of give rights to one particular person. You would have to make a group for that person. And that doesn't really work so well for enterprise setups where you might have 1,000 different users and you really want each one to have their own rights, and you're not interested in creating 1,000 different groups with one user in each one. And even if you did, you may not get all the flexibility you were looking for with MediaWiki. So if you think about it, you can have group rights for the entire wiki, and that's controlled by local settings. And you can have group rights for particular namespaces in the wiki, and that's also controlled by local settings. And then you also have group rights for a particular page, and that's where there's a very good interface for that. You don't have to go into your site settings, and there's a drop down where you click protect. And that allows you to protect the page for particular groups. You can add rights for particular groups. For the enterprise version of that, it would have to be user-based. So you'd have to be able to give particular rights for a particular user. And that's sort of what we created with UserProtect. It's meant to work in tandem with the standard protect action that's built into MediaWiki. Right next to that, you would have UserProtect. So it shares the native MediaWiki page protection philosophy in that MediaWiki has group-based protections and UserProtect has user-based protections. And we tried to make it as similar to the existing core system of user protection. And for example, here you have a global where you're able to set the types of restrictions that can be modified by the extension. So you can say, I want to be able to use that action tab to be able to grant edit permissions, to be able to grant move permissions, but not necessarily to grant delete permissions. And this can actually be extended. In theory, any type of protection, any type of right in the wiki can be modified by the extension. You'll see how this works in a minute, but in theory, this would support any type of right. I don't want to get everybody very excited, except for read. We didn't implement it to be able to block people from viewing a page, which I'm sure is what everybody wants, but we feel like there's no good way to do that right now without a major overhaul of the core architecture. And we don't really want to implement a restriction here that we can kind of do well. You know, all of these restrictions, we're very confident that we can actually block people. If you say that they shouldn't be able to do that, if you say a particular user shouldn't be able to edit this page, they won't be able to. But as far as read, there's no easy way to do that, or at least no reliable way to do that. If the extension becomes popular and a lot of people want it, we'll think about it. This global may look familiar because we tried to make it as similar as possible to the core global WG restriction types, which is what sets the restrictions that you can use in the Protect tab. And of course, the user-based UserProtect permissions, they're going to override whatever the group-based permissions are. So let's say you have a wiki where any user can edit, but you want to block a particular user from editing. So you would go into protect on the page. You don't have to do anything, but you just have to make it editable by users, which is probably the default. And then you would go into UserProtect and you'd say, well, except this one guy who I might trust them in general, but I don't want them saying anything about this particular topic. You would be able to block them from editing that page. So it overrides the group-based protection with the user-based protection, so more fine protection. And what we tried to do is make it very easy to use. There are, different extensions out there that do, try to do access control and protection and things like that. Most of them don't have a very intuitive interface. Either it's got to be like with tags that go into the page, which would break caching, or it has to be done through a special page or by editing some page in some namespace somewhere. We wanted to make this as easy to use. So you have a tab that goes right next to the Protect tab called UserProtect, and you click that and it'll bring up the interface. And the interface also we tried to make as intuitive and easy to use as possible. It's a simple form and it'll use auto-completion, as we'll say in a minute. It has two different sections. You can add rights, and it's got an autocomplete. You can put in particular users, start typing, it will prompt you and help you fill in the different users. So you would say, I want to add an edit right for this particular user. And you can also remove a right for a particular user. And in this case, the use case we actually designed this for was we had a client that wanted to be able to make per page administrators. So regular users, but they have like huge rights on one page and one page only, where they can grant rights to anybody they want, and they can block people from editing that page if they want. So this allows you to do that. This all rights field is a convenience field, and it'll grant or remove all rights for a user, but not all page rights, only the ones that you set the extension to be able to modify. As you can see here in this example, the global was modified to allow rollback and also to allow UserProtect. And what that means is you can add users who are able to use the UserProtect extension for a particular page. So you can say, for this particular page, I want this particular user to be able to use the UserProtect page. So you use UserProtect to grant UserProtect. And it can add and remove rights, which is also a unique feature, I think, among the extensions, that you can give a right to a group and then take it away for particular people, or you can remove a right for a group, but then grant it to a particular user. As I mentioned, it stores the information in the database, which makes sure it doesn't break caching. It creates two different tables. It's got a new action called UserProtect and a single parameter, which is a global. And I hope that this gets a lot of use. I think it's great if this is what you need per page protection. This will do, I think, pretty much anything you want except for the read action, which maybe one day we'll add it in. Thank you.